What's up, guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2019 BMW i3. Behind me is an electric motor powering the rear wheels. Now, I'm super excited to be driving this i3 for two reasons. First of all, it's been several years since I've driven an i3, and it's always good to sort of update myself and keep myself current on as many vehicles as I can. But the second reason is the fact that the i3 is no longer in production, and I think it was one of the important stepping stones that not only BMW took towards EVs, but just EVs in general. And so I'm excited to share all of that with you today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can do so at my website, zackpradel.com/submit. Also, huge thank you to Napleton, Subaru, and Schaumburg for letting me borrow their i3 for this video. More on them towards the end of the video, but if you'd like to browse their inventory, you could do so in the description below. But let's get back to that all-electric drivetrain. Well, that's what made the i3 so special. Now, you could also find them with a two-cylinder that was a gasoline range extender. However, this is the full EV. Range is about 140-ish miles on a full charge, but again, as the vehicles age, that's going to be less and less. So you might look at an i3 that has less, you might look at an i3 that has more. That's just what this one in front of me is doing here today. It does offer fast charging, which is impressive and wasn't fully the standard when this vehicle was originally made, so that's nice to see. It is also rear-wheel drive with a single-speed automatic transmission, but it's rear-wheel. It is a rear-wheel drive BMW, so as long as you stay super vague at the bar, when a lady asks, "What do you drive?" you could say, "I drive a rear-wheel drive BMW." And she'll go, "Ooh, like a 4 Series, a 3 Series, a 5 Series?" And you go, "Yeah, like that." You know. How does it feel to drive the i3? Well, this interior is really tripping me out, so we'll talk about that in a second. But overall, the power is fine. The steering is a little bit heavy, but visibility is pretty good. It is a little bit larger than you would actually think. It looks like a tiny little city car, but in actual proportions, it's not fully. And I don't mind driving it overall. It's nice. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a little digital screen for my dash. That's it. I don't get anything crazy in front of me, but it is very odd. It looks kind of tacked on. The steering wheel, also very odd, has this blue rim around the outside of it. We have our cruise control to the left and mode, volume, and phone options to the right. And then off to the left, we have a climate control vent, our headlight switch and gauge dimmer switch, as well as our trunk and frunk release way down below. And then on the door, we have our latch to get in and out with the lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do get an infotainment screen, but again, very odd how it's sort of coming out of the dash. The dash has several different materials on it, and this is the older iDrive system from BMW, which I historically have not been the biggest fan of. I think it can be a little bit clunky, and as time goes on, these systems start to have some issues where they'll just drop iPhone connections or Bluetooth connections, things like that. So I don't love it, but it's here and it's functioning. Down below that, we have our standard BMW buttons for our favorite buttons, volume, heated seats, and climate control, single zone climate control. We get the fan speed in the center. However, off to the right, we actually have a little light that will light up when the vehicle is in Eco mode or Eco Pro Plus. It actually lights up and will tell you that. I don't know why. I assume this affects the climate controls, probably weakens them for the Eco Pro and Eco Pro Plus. So it's probably just to remind you of like, hey, if the AC isn't pumping super hard, it's because it's in this, but just something you don't see in cars. Down below that, we have our 2 climate vents and hazard switch. Then we get a bunch of empty space, and then we do get a center console with 1 single cup holder, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the i3. However, very predictably, it fails. It's very close to passing, but at the end of the day, it's still a fail. Then we have our drive modes for Comfort, Eco Pro, and Eco Pro Plus. Parking sensors on and off, and our selector for that gauge cluster screen. I've always liked this little selector. I think it has great tactile feedback, and this was used throughout BMW's products in the 2010s, and I really like it here as well. Power parking brake and a center console. We do have a 12-volt outlet and USB-A. Again, everything just kind of jumbled up here. And then we'll talk about the seats. The seats are okay. say they're a little hard. They really remind me of like when a college gets a bunch of grant money, so they upgrade their library and they try to do these like really artsy fartsy seats. That's exactly how this looks and feels. It's fine, it's comfortable enough to study on, but it didn't have to be this way. I don't know. That's my own personal opinion, but they are heated. Not power though, manual seats, interesting to see. However, speaking of seats, we do have little suicide doors in the back, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so this does have little half doors, kind of like a Mazda RX-8. We're in the back of the i3, and it's honestly not terrible. It's not god-awful. It's better to get back here with these little half doors than without, so I guess that's a good plus, but nothing really to write home about at all. No center console. This light's gonna stay on because the door's open, but normally that would shut off. No cup holder. Oh wait, I do get cup holders by my hip. We can do a biggie fwiggy bottle. Yeah, it still doesn't fit. It's fine. You could take people back here. I wouldn't recommend it if you want to still talk to said people after the drive is over, but it's also not the worst. Let's hop out and talk about the cargo space, not only around back, but also up front. All right, so we'll start off around the back of the i3, button popped here. And we do have floor mats for the next owner. However, not a whole lot of space, as you can see. Just enough to fit the floor mats themselves, and that's it. However, you do get a 12-volt outlet over here. Very, very nice to see that, and not something that's found usually in a car this small. So, very nice to see that. Pull that back down. Coming around the front, button down here, and you get a frunk. Now, it is an incredibly tiny frunk, used basically just to hold the tow hook, filter housing or something, or that's a can of Fix-A-Flat essentially, I think. That's it. So you do get a tiny little frunk, and when I say tiny, I really want to emphasize tiny. That's how small it is, but there you go. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and just like the interior, this is an odd thing to look at. Everywhere you turn on this car, it's strange. And so the visuals are no different. It's an odd looking automobile. However, I do think it has somewhat of a charm to it. I think it kind of looks like something out of I, Robot, a movie that terrified me as a child and ruined my life for probably about 15 years, but a cool futuristic look nevertheless. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another BMW i3 after so many years? Well, I don't mind this car. I think it's okay for what it is. It was overpriced at the time. It's still kind of overpriced even on the used market. And it doesn't have really a whole lot of range. As a city car, I get it. I could see it. It makes sense, and it definitely makes a statement. However, I do want to talk about the i3 as a whole and what it's meant since it stopped being produced in 2021. Well, this was one of the forefront EVs and hybrids that we got here in the United States. I think this will sort of be cemented as one of those forgotten forefathers, much like the Hyundai Ioniq, which was an EV that was only sold in few markets here in the US, and a hybrid as well, and vehicles like the Chevy Volt and Bolt. These cars helped brands dip their toe into the new world. And now BMW has an entire I line. They have the i4, which is an electric sedan, the iX, which is an SUV. All of that was made possible because they started off with this. The technology in here was the test bed for the technology that they're using today. And I think this car is just super strange. It has a carbon fiber tub. Why? I guess for lightweight, that's why. It's not a hard question to answer, but all the different materials, the strange look, the strange name. BMW had never named something i3 before, or I anything. It was all so weird, but it was able to set the tone. It was able to teach BMW, hey, this is what you should do, and this is what you shouldn't in this new technology world. In a world full of hybrids and EVs, this was BMW's first kid. And yeah, maybe the parenting wasn't the best. I'm sure it has some emotional attachment issues and might have some social issues as well, but it was the first go. It was the first step. And now that it's out of production, it helped the rest of BMW get its wings. Wings that are still flapping here today, which is cool to see. So although I don't love the i3, I think it's fine. I appreciate the history that it brings and the monumental shift that it helped usher in for the BMW brand. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg for letting me take out their used i3. Such an eye-opening experience. Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg is absolutely wonderful. We've been working together for years. Always super kind. Great staff there. They always have really cool and interesting vehicles on the lot too, which is obvious with this i3. So overall, I can't recommend them enough. If you're looking for a new Subaru or just a new car in the Chicagoland area, definitely head on over to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.